All right. Thank you, Tiara. So greetings and good afternoon to everyone on the Zoom call. It's now 2:03 on Thursday, January the 25th, 2024. We're conducting this hearing virtually, obviously by Zoom, and we're conducting the public hearing for the abandonment petition case AB 784 to consider a revised petition of abandonment received from Gordon and Reese Scully Mansukani. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And this firm represents the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County, and we're looking at two abandoned areas, or rather, we're looking to abandon your group is looking to abandon two areas along Washington Grove Lane between Mid-County Highway and Sandy Spring Drive in Gaithersburg, Maryland. And as Ms. McCray mentioned, my name is Michael Paylor. I am the county executive's designated hearing officer with the county's Department of Transportation. And this particular abandonment hearing is being conducted pursuant to Section 4962F of the Montgomery County Code. My role in this particular abandonment process is to receive testimony concerning the abandonment petition and then to draft a report and recommendation to the county executive concerning the applicant's petition for abandonment. And so in order to do this, I will consider statements made during this hearing, as well as written comments received within the comment period and documents that are submitted to Ms. McCray to support or explain a position on this abandonment case. Comments will be accepted until February the 9th, 2024 at 5 p.m. And my report and recommendation will then be forwarded to the county executive for consideration, and then the county executive will in turn forward that report and his recommendation to the county council. It is the county council that will ultimately decide whether to grant or to deny the applicant's petition for abandonment. All parties of record will receive notice of the report and recommendation only after the report has been submitted to the county council, and we certainly do in advance appreciate your patience with this process. To reiterate, those who wish to submit written comments, please submit them to Ms. Tiara McCray at Montgomery County's Department of Transportation, 100 Edison Park Drive, 4th floor, Gaithersburg, Maryland, 20878, or email them to tiara.mccray@montgomerycountymaryland.gov by February 9th, 2024. I'll lay down a few housekeeping rules before Ms. McCray introduces the abandonment petition in the record. First, please turn off or silence your mobile phones. And then second, as an issue of decorum, all participants must be given due consideration. So those seeking to offer comment following the close of the petitioner's case for abandonment are asked to be mindful of that time and limit their comments to relevant matters. I would appreciate no interruptions, but if an interruption does occur, I'll give the individual or individuals their first warning. If there is a second interruption, I will give that individual or individuals a second warning, and then they will be muted. And unfortunately, if that same individual or individuals continue to interrupt and receive a third warning, those persons will be removed from this call. If there are several people making repeated interruptions, I do reserve the right to close the hearing. So following Ms. McCray's introduction, the applicant will submit its case for abandonment. And after the applicant has completed its case, those who have registered to speak will be afforded the opportunity to make relevant comments. So now with all that behind us, I'd like to introduce Ms. Tiara McCray from Montgomery County's DOT. Ms. McCray is acting chief for property acquisition, and she will present this case. Ms. McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Paylor, and good afternoon, everyone. As Mr. Paylor previously noted, my name is Tiara McCray. I'm the acting section chief for the property acquisition section for Montgomery County DOT. My section is responsible for administering requests for the abandonment of public rights-of-way, and as Mr. Paylor noted earlier, this process is governed by County Code 49-62. The County Code details the County Council's authority to abandon a public right-of-way if it finds that 1, the right-of-way is no longer needed for public use or anticipated future public use, or 2, the abandonment is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents near the right-of-way to be abandoned, Section 49-63. This abandonment case considers a revised petition to abandon two areas along Washington Grove Lane between Mid-County Highway and Shady Spring Drive. Area 1, a total of approximately 56,826 square feet on the east side of Washington Grove Lane between Mid-County Highway and Shady Spring Drive. In Area 2, approximately 2,946 square feet on the west side of Washington Grove Lane between Mid-County Highway and Emery Grove Road. The proposed abandonment is sought in connection with the redevelopment of HOC's Emery Grove Village property, which is a part of a larger development plan for the Emery Grove community. The right-of-way on the east side of Washington Grove Lane, Area 1, was established through two subdivision plats, numbers 9277, filed in April 1969, entitled Lot 1 of Emery Grove Village, and plat number 9635, filed in July of 1970, entitled Lot 2, Emery Grove Village. As noted on the plat, the right-of-way was dedicated for the relocation of Route 124. The applicant asserts in its petition that Area 2 on the west side of Washington Grove Lane is the former roadbed for Washington Grove Lane. As part of the administrative process, we have provided the requisite notices to other public agencies, abutting property owners, and the public at large. During this process, we have collected a number of exhibits that I will now introduce into the record. Give me one moment, and if you could, please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see that.
Thank you. All right, we've got a pretty long record or list of exhibits to read into record, so thank you for your patience in advance. Exhibit A is the applicant's revised abandonment petition dated September 27, 2023 from Gordon Woodward on behalf of the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County, HOC, the applicant, requesting the abandonment of two areas along Washington Grove Lane. The package includes exhibits A through K, which is pages number 1 through 38. And for the sake of time, I'll scroll through them. Exhibit B is the applicant's original abandonment petition dated November 1st from Gordon Woodward on behalf of HOC, requesting the abandonment of 5 areas along Washington Grove Lane between Mid-County Highway and Pepper Ridge Road. That's pages 39 through 44. Exhibit C is the revised abandonment area survey for the two petitioned areas, Area 1 and Area 2, previously noted in my introduction, which is on page 45. Exhibit D is the original abandonment area survey, which is a survey of 5 petitioned areas for abandonment, as I noted, has been revised here recently, which is pages 46 through 47. Exhibit E are the relevant plats. As I mentioned, plat numbers 9277 and 9635 entitles Lot 1, Emery Grove Village, and Lot 2, Emery Grove Village, respectively, pages 48 through 49. Exhibit F is Executive Order number 197-23, authorizing the rescheduled hearing for today's date, January 25th. That's on page 50. Exhibit G is Executive Order number 3-23, the executive order authorizing the hearing for March 23rd, which was later rescheduled at the applicant's request. That's page 51. Exhibit H is the stay request dated, excuse me, June 26, 2023 from Gordon Woodward, requesting the abandonment be stayed as they continue conversations with Montgomery County DOT and Maryland National Capital Park and Planning, Montgomery Planning. That's pages 52 to 53. Page 54, Exhibit I, is a comment solicitation email, the original petition email dated January 3rd, 2023 to county agencies and public utility companies seeking input on the abandonment request. Exhibit J is the revised email alerting county agencies and public utility companies of the applicant's revised petition, page 56. Exhibit K, Washington Times ad number 79901, noting advertisement for today's hearing to run for January 12th and January 19th, 2024, page 57. Exhibit L is the MCDOT calendar submission confirmation, page 57. Exhibit M is the general public hearing notice submitted to the Emery Grove United Methodist Church and noted homeowners association and civic associations registered with the planning board. Any of those entities that did not have an email address on file, here highlighted in green, received this general public notice, in addition to those who are highlighted in red as their email addresses returned back as a failure notice. Exhibit sorry, I might have skipped through that, sorry. Exhibit N is the comment solicitation email that was dated January 2023. That was the original email submitted to all of the HOAs and CAs registered with the planning board. That's pages 60 to 62. Apologies, I jumped ahead. Exhibit O is a comment solicitation email alerting all the HOAs and civic associations that the petition had been revised and submitted all of the revised information. That is pages 63 to 65, which includes the list of HOAs and civic associations that had received the mailing as a result of a lack of email or a failed or having had their email returned. Exhibit P is Montgomery County Planning Board MNCPPC comment. Memorandum dated March 3rd. Oh, hold on, I think I may have gotten out of here. There we go. Apologies. Dated January 3rd, 2024. Noting the planning board's recommendation for approval of the abandonment. Noting that they would like to see consistent information with the complete streets and safe pedestrian and vehicular access for the intersection redesign in the development plan to be submitted in the future. Exhibit P is relatively long. It's from pages 68 to 112. So for the sake of time, I'll go ahead and scroll down. All right, Exhibit Q, Montgomery County DOT Division of Traffic Engineering and Operations, an email dated January 7th, 2023 from Mark Terry, Chief of the Traffic Engineering Studies, noting no comment on the abandonment case, page 113. Exhibit R is the Montgomery County DPS Fire Department Access and Water Supply, the revised comment dated January 17th, 2024 from Marie LeBaugh, noting no objection based on additional information provided from HOC, the revised petition being subject to Fire Department Access and Water Supply review and approval, pages 114. Okay, my computer's thinking about it, so apologies. Okay. All right. I'm going to continue reading them into record so that we don't delay it here, but I will make sure that a copy of the full record is uploaded on the property acquisition website here, just so that we don't delay the hearing any longer. Again, that's fire and rescue. So Exhibit S is Montgomery County DOT Development Review Team. It's a letter dated December 21st, 2023 from Manager Rebecca Torma recommending approval of the petition subject to conditions pertaining to property and street access and utility easements and or relocation expenses from the applicant should relocation of utility lines be necessary. That's page 116. Exhibit T is a WSSC water comment, a letter dated January 25th, 2024 from Catalina Munoza, project manager, recommending approval subject to the applicant granting 2 easements to the commission as outlined in their letter, no later than 60 days after a record plat has been recorded. That's pages 117 to 121. Exhibit U is the Emery Grove United Methodist Church comment, a letter dated December 5th, 2023 from Senior Pastor Timothy Warner asking that the church join HOC in its request to abandon the areas along Washington Grove, pages 122 to 123. Exhibit V is a public hearing, traffic sign and posting of 2 traffic signs installed within the proposed area 1 and 2, advertising today's hearing, pages 124 to 127. Exhibit W is the public hearing registration list, indicating 13 registrants for today's hearing. Exhibit X is the applicant's hearing presentation, a PowerPoint presentation that Mr. Woodward will later demonstrate for us. And then Exhibit H, the applicant presentation exhibits, a list of the combined exhibits A through P. I will stop sharing my screen. Thank you all for your patience during that technical challenge and your understanding. Mr. Paylor, I turn this hearing back in your direction, sir.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. McCray. So at this time, the applicant may submit their case.
Okay, thank you. I'm Gordon Woodward for the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County, Maryland. With me today is co-counsel Ed Donahue and also representatives from Emory Grove United Methodist Church, including Pastor Warner and Counsel Francois Carrier. And let me say up front, sorry for the size of the record in this case. Hope it doesn't take up too much of your time to go through. I think maybe I'll truncate my comments a little bit because you guys have covered a lot of stuff in the beginning, and I appreciate that. But I'm going to start with the end in mind here. As you know, the code allows that a right-of-way may be abandoned if the right-of-way is no longer necessary for public use or anticipated public use in the foreseeable future, or is necessary to protect the health and welfare of the community. We'll address these more specifically later, but again, starting with the end in mind, I want to note that we have no objection from, we've not received any objection from the relevant agencies at this point. They had concerns up front that we took time to work through with them, and the long and the short of it is now, is that they approve of the requested abandonment. And then, by way of example, Park and Planning has specifically indicated the proposed abandonment areas are not necessary for future, present or future public use. Therefore, staff supports the subject abandonment petition. We received similar comments from the other agencies involved. Having said that, I would like to take a little time to step back and review the history of the request, because I think it's important to understanding this and what's going on here. So we'll take a quick look at the location, review the history of the community, which is very important here, how these right-of-ways came to be, also very relevant, the history of the abandonment request, and then the legal standard. Then I'll wrap up with a brief conclusion. Would you, is it possible for Ms. McCray for you to share your screen with me? Can I take that now and
yes, sir. You should be able, yep, you should be able to share your screen if you like, pressing the green shared screen button.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay. I unfortunately cannot, but that's all right. Or at least I can't see what you're seeing, but that's okay. All right. Right now I have the PowerPoint presentation up there. I've made our introductions. As you know, we're here to request that the county abandon certain road widening interests that it no longer needs along Washington Grove Lane. I think, let me start with the area, just so we are oriented here. Okay, so I assume you can see the revised survey. All right, this is Washington Grove Lane. We are talking about these two shaded areas here, which are right-of-way easements on property held by HOC, the Housing Opportunities Commission, which I'll refer to as we go along as HOC or the commission. And this small, very small area to the north side of the road, which is on or adjacent to properties held by the church. As you pointed out earlier, and this I'll refer to as Area 1. Get this up here. All right. There was a reservation for right-of-way easement that was dedicated by plat for Area 1. And I don't know how well you can see this, but it specifically indicates on here for the relocation of Route 124. And similarly on Lot 2, and again, specifically indicates for the relocation of Route 124. As we'll discuss in a moment, that's no longer necessary. Going back to Exhibit A here, with regard to the portion on the north side, and by the way, Washington Grove Lane was originally a stagecoach road. So this goes back years to the early 1800s, which explains why it can be difficult at times to determine or find references in the public record. What we have here is area that circumstantial evidence is pretty clear was part of the roadbed at one time. And we know that the county has asserted a right-of-way interest in this area because areas that were adjacent to the road, for example, and we're not requesting abandonment here, I'll explain that in a moment, but this is adjacent to the road and there is some public infrastructure here, including there's a bus stop here, sidewalk goes along here. So through the course of discussions with DOT, we limited our abandonment request. And what we did was we have the scope of the right-of-way, what would be the future right-of-way, will include the public infrastructure that is established there. And this remaining little portion, and DOT agrees with this, doesn't have above ground public infrastructure and is no longer necessary as right-of-way. So as they indicate in their comments, they are willing to abandon this area to the extent that they have any right-of-way interest in it. This is important to the church because this, for going forward, this really needs to be cleaned up so they understand what their rights are with regard to working in this area. Now,
all right, Mr. Paylor, do you mind if I just ask a question here?
Yes, certainly, Mr. Birnbaum, please go ahead.
Hi, this is Robert Birnbaum. I'm with the County Attorney's Office. I just wanted to ask a question just to try to understand why the land that's immediately adjacent to the church property, why you're contending it's right of way. You started to say that it was that the county asserted a right of way interest there. And so I wanted to know if you could elaborate how the county asserted a right of way interest. And in addition to that, do you have any sort of title search or anything like that that would indicate who the owner is of that land?
So short answer to your question is there's no written dedication for this. And no, I mean, we've had a title search going back quite a ways. We do not have clear title to this shaded area here. And I guess what I was saying earlier, and this isn't the best, I guess I could pull up an older one, but this area, including this shaded area and this little bit in here below that, which would be another about 3,000 square feet, the county has been using this area or has established some public infrastructure in what you see immediately below the shaded area. And again, there's no dedication for the road here.
Mr. Paylor, may I interject here?
Oh, please do. Thank you.
Thank you. Françoise Carrier for the record. Mr. Birnbaum, the area that's identified here as Area 2 is shown as public right-of-way on the county's GIS map and zoning map. So the church is going to have a very difficult time having that treated as part of a development application because, you know, the GIS is considered authoritative and it shows it as public right-of-way. It has been used as public right-of-way for many, many years. Right now, it doesn't, in the modern, you know, construction of the road, it doesn't have improvements on it. But historically, it was part of the road. And as I say, it's shown as public right-of-way. So our concern is that if the county doesn't affirmatively abandon any right-of-way interest in that land, we may end up having to bring a quitclaim action. And that seems like a waste of time and resources that could go into a project that is very strongly supported by the leadership of the county as a redevelopment project in an area that is sorely in need of it. So I don't, it's true that there's no, you know, searches have been done. They can't find anything showing when it was dedicated. But I also said, because of that, I don't have anything to show the county, the Park and Planning Commission to say, please stop showing this as public right-of-way on your maps.
Right. So I guess that's the question is, does the GIS map depict lot lines or does the GIS map depict a right of way? And so between the lot lines, I think that you're making an assumption that that's right of way. But I think that the GIS maps is probably constructed showing the boundaries of lot lines. And that's sort of just my question as to if it wasn't dedicated and there's not presently a roadbed there, and it's not in the public uses of as right of way, you know, I was just questioning whether it's, you know, if it continues to be right of way, particularly if it hasn't been dedicated and accepted by the county. You're probably familiar with that prescriptive right of way that ceases to be used as right of way is no longer right of way. So that's why I was questioning that and why I was asking who has title to that, because ultimately there's going to have to be a determination if you want to incorporate that area into the adjacent
Yes,
lots.
precisely.
Right. You'd need
we're just looking for the simplest way to be able to do that.
Right,
And
but the abandonment does not mean that the adjacent I guess lot owners have title to it. So that's why I was asking that question. That's something that I think you're going to have to figure out down the road. So
I mean, normally when there's an abandonment, let me step back. I mean, dedication is not the same thing as conveyance of title.
correct.
So normally, if the right of way is abandoned, the ownership remains with the property that did the dedication.
I agree with that.
So I think that's our first step. A first step to clarifying that for us would be for the county to say, if there's any right of way on this property, we abandon it. We don't need it. So then we can go forward to deal with just ownership issues if they arise. The ownership issue is not going to be a big issue for Park and Planning. I guess I don't know for certain where the lot lines exactly go on those properties, if they cover that little bit of right of way. I just haven't seen the paperwork.
I think what's
made its way to me, but my understanding is that what they show in the GIS maps, they show public right of way I mean, they have information about the right of way, not just the lot lines, but I could be wrong.
Right.
Can't swear to that.
What you often find in public rights of way are deed lines that actually go into the middle of the right of way when there hasn't been a dedication. We don't have that here. That's why I'm asking the question. So I understand that you're asking the county to abandon whatever interest it may have in the right of way. Again, the county can only abandon right of way. And one of the things that I just did want to correct is that sometimes right of way is owned by the county in fee simple.
Sometimes.
Right, in which case an abandonment it simply doesn't revert to the owner. So
I'm aware of that, yes.
Right. So understanding who is the owner of that land is probably important to being able to incorporate it into whatever future development is thought to happen on the northern side. And so you may very well still need to bring some sort of quiet title action. I think I heard you say quit claim action. I wasn't sure.
Oh, yeah, sorry. That was wrong.
So to establish
I
that,
meant
because
quiet title.
I'm just not sure, but I do think that one of the issues is that we do not actually see those lot lines calling into the right of way, at least as depicted on this survey here or on these plans. And so again, I'm just going to say that as opposed to a regular dedication, if it were prescriptively acquired, because I don't know how Washington Grove Lane was established in these areas. If it was prescriptively acquired, it's no longer used. It's just simply no longer right of way already. So that's just what I just was just wondering if that could be established, if there is any information that you could share additionally. If you don't have it, you don't have it. And obviously you'll have time to, put things together before the hearing closes, before the comment deadline, but it would be good to have, and certainly I think it will be necessary to have for whatever future plans that you have.
And maybe to bridge this discussion, perhaps we could have the applicant submit the title report they've conducted to the record, in addition to a letter explaining the scope of their search, to at least be a partial facilitation of this discussion, and then any other information that you can muster up that would be appropriate.
Okay. Mr. Birnbaum, your point is well taken. We appreciate that. Ms. Carrier's point, I think, is also well taken, in that it would be enormously useful if the county were willing to say that it abandons whatever right of way it may have in that shaded area. Do I understand that that's a possibility?
I mean, it's up to the county council ultimately to determine whether, the right of way continues to be needed for public use. Here, you've got a situation where I don't believe there's any public infrastructure in there presently. I don't believe it's paved. I don't know that the public is actually using it. So that certainly is evidence of indicia that there is either no right of way there, or that it's no longer necessary for right of way. And that's the case that I think you're trying to make here. But ultimately, it's for the county council to make that decision. Mr. Paler is only making a recommendation to the county executive, who would then forward that report, if he agrees with it, to the county council.
And right, understood. And I guess I would make the point that we acknowledge there's some ambiguity there with regard to that 2,800 square feet. But the thing that's not ambiguous, and that the agencies agree with, is the fact that to the extent there is or was right of way, it's no longer necessary. And the efficient thing from our point of view would be for the county council to agree to waive whatever right of way it may rights it may hold there.
Right. And I understand what you're asking for. I'm just also alerting you to that, it doesn't establish a title interest in the property. to the adjacent owners. You know, even if that were to happen, I think that that's going to be an issue. So that's just one thing. Typically, what happens is when there's a subdivision plat after after a abandonment goes through and is approved by the council, one of the conditions is that the right of way or the former right of way be incorporated into the adjacent subdivision. You can't do that if you can't demonstrate who the owner of the land is. So if you're not going to be able to do that at the conclusion of all of this, I think that the only thing that could happen, again, this is all subject to county council approval, would be that there would be this parcel of land on the northern side that's going to be depicted as abandoned, but it's still going to be up to the applicant to, you know, determine how it's going to incorporate that land into the adjacent Emory church. So I just want to point all of that out now so that you can be aware of it.
I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
one thing I might add is, yeah, there are questions here that we're not certain that needed to be answered now. It may sort of depend on how things move forward, you know.
Right. No, right. I understand. What's this hearing is limited to determining if there's right of way and if it's necessary for public use. My question was initially really supposed to be about, hey, how is this public right of way? Could you please demonstrate to us that it is public right of way or that it was public right of way? And that is still a little bit unclear. I think what we've heard from Ms. Carrier is that it's depicted on a GIS map as right of way. And so, you know, obviously Mr. Paler can take that for what it's worth. I was questioning whether what's depicted on a GIS map is showing just lot lines, and everything between the lot lines is whatever it is. And so it doesn't necessarily mean right of way. That's all I was trying to suggest. So I just wanted to make sure that, again, you know, I'm not taking a position here, but so that I just want to make sure that you're able to put your case forward as best as you can to demonstrate that it is right of way and it's no longer necessary for public use. So that we're not, you know, I don't think the county wants to be in the position of saying, or just guessing or saying, well, to the extent it's right of way, you know, we don't think we need it anymore. You know, it's just because we could get petitions for all other types of petitions where people are doing things that are clearly not right of way. And here it's still not clear to me. So just wanted to put that forward for whatever it's worth. And I didn't mean to interrupt your case. And so I just want you to be able to continue forward and to the extent that my comments went beyond what's necessary just for determining a recommendation for the county executive, you can take those additional comments and just perhaps think about what would be necessary in order to go ahead and perfect whatever you need to do to, you know, move forward with your plans.
Understood.
Okay. Thanks.
Mr. Paler, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, you didn't, sir. I was just going to say thank you all for the robust discussion. I'm certainly hopeful it's helpful for your team, so you can continue on.
It's quite helpful. All right. Well, that covers the location, the areas, and I would like to just hop forward now to a little bit of background about the reason for the requested abandonment. We comfortable moving ahead, or are there further questions?
May proceed.
All right. Well, this request is a necessary precursor to a project involving the commission, the church, and the local community. The project is referred to as Heritage Emory Grove, and we don't need to spend a lot of time on this, but I'm just going to show you a conceptual drawing of what Heritage Emory Grove will look like. Historical aspects of this community have been identified again in the concept plan, and we've provided a document that addresses that. This is a long-standing community. It developed in about 1865 at the conclusion of the Civil War. It was founded by recently emancipated men and women who acquired land from Quaker farmers and began building a community. It's a community that was centered around what is now the Emery Grove United Methodist Church. And you can see some reference to that here. The church is right here at the heart of the community. It's a community that was built on collaboration, progress, resilience. And much of this history still exists in the community, spiritually and physically. But it's incumbent on us to honor this history, this rich history, and to build on it in a way that continues to promote these values and serves the next generations. So the vision for Heritage Emery Grove, it started on a small parcel adjacent to the church. And let me see if I can, would be this area here. It catalyzed the Housing Opportunities Commission needed to undertake some renovation and modernization of its properties. And these projects came together and catalyzed into a vision for community building, which became an effort, a joint effort between the commission and Emery Grove United Methodist Church. I will, much of what is anticipated is, I guess, set forth in the conceptual master plan. And again, we've attached some outtakes from that, and I'm not going to read all of this to you, but I will quote a little bit here. The plans and proposals contained within the conceptual master plan attempt to preserve the history of Emery Grove while introducing new housing that meets the needs of today's population. Of course, party objectives are set forth in detail in Exhibit F, attached to our amended petition. And again, I'm not going to read it all to you. There's a lot in there, including maintaining the historical integrity of the land and the community, adding housing, encouraging green space, minimizing vehicular traffic, and including at least 30% moderately priced dwelling units. And I guess we could, there's a couple of ways we could sum it up, but the Emery Grove United Methodist Church has been the one stabilizing force for Emery Grove since its inception. The importance of this institution and the spiritual ethos of the congregants cannot be understated. Throughout this plan, there's been a conscious attempt to incorporate that ethic of the original community while at the same time providing growth and new housing. And this ethic is a critical component that has informed and influenced all aspects of this proposed project. All right, I want to spend just a little bit of time here on the dedicated right-of-way interests. Let me see here. I'll come back to B1. In the 50s, the county was contemplating a state highway through Gaithersburg. It was not initially clear where exactly it would go. As a result, the decision was made to acquire right-of-way in various different locations. One of the areas was along Washington Grove Lane, as we can see in the plats here. Now, fortunately, by 1986, the rights-of-ways for the extension were dedicated. Route 124 was fixed in its current location at Woodfield Road. Unfortunately, the right-of-way dedications for 124 still exist today, although they are not necessary. They are essentially vestigial and would no longer be needed for 124. I should add that 124 is established it's not going to go in Washington Grove Lane, and it couldn't at this point, just given the development around there. So in short, it's no longer needed. And I should add, the area to the north that we've spent significant time discussing, the shaded area, also not necessary. And I again acknowledge some ambiguity around dedication. But one thing that everybody agrees on is that to the extent that there's right of way there, it's no longer necessary. It's just vestigial. All right, a little bit about the history of this abandonment request. And sorry, let me, might be easier if I got away from the PowerPoint there, but let me jump forward. Because we have a decent summary here. So originally the request was filed November 1st, 2022, set for hearing on March 23rd. The Department of Transportation had some significant comments regarding the survey that was submitted at that time. There were a number of things. I think the most significant was the alignment of this intersection. And also the width of the road, the envelope, right-of-way envelope here for the future road, or the future dedication line, I should say. In any event, we spent some significant time working on that with the county. A plan was developed, and I will, let me see if I can pull that up for you really quick. There. Okay. So this was, we stayed the abandonment petition. We filed a concept plan and ultimately went to a development review committee meeting. This is what was proposed. Now, the county, the Department of Transportation is not saying that this will be or will be required, but what they were saying is, in terms of evaluating our abandonment requests, they wanted to make sure that they retained sufficient area to realign the intersection if that was something that they decided was necessary in the future. So this was ultimately what was presented and was accepted by DOT. Based on that, we produced that and some other items. We produced the revised survey that that we have been discussing. Let's pull that back up. This is what was submitted. And based on approval at the Development Review Committee meeting, we filed the amended petition with that survey. Now, we did receive several comments in response to the amended petition. One was from WSSC reminding us that they wanted us to submit their easement package, which we did and was ultimately approved. And another was from the fire department, and again, wanting assurance that there would be no change to the water supply, and that that would, to the extent that there was any development, it would be submitted for their approval. Forthcoming plans would be submitted subject to the department's review and approval of water supply and access, which was a condition that we, of course, agreed to. With that, those parties agreed to the request and indicated their assent that the abandonment move forward. And I guess I could say in summary there, all the agency comments have been addressed. with the exception of Mr. Birnbaum's comment. And all of the agencies have approved, subject to the conditions which are set forth in the exhibits that Ms. McCray pointed to earlier. Now, the abandonment standard, as you know, I won't belabor this point, but it's that the right-of-way is no longer necessary, for present public use or anticipated public use in the foreseeable future, or that the abandonment is necessary to protect the health and safety and welfare of the residents in the community. We think we meet this standard. With regard to the first standard, there's no present public use. The first thing I would say is that, again, Route 124 has been placed elsewhere. It's not going there. It couldn't go there at this point. So it's not necessary for that. It is not, we're not aware of any anticipated future public use in either of the areas, shaded areas that we show on the survey. The petition has been submitted to all the relevant agencies. They have all indicated, or I should say, have not expressed any opposition. They've all indicated that it's not necessary for present public use or future anticipated public use. And again, I'll quote from Park and Planning. Planning staff has reviewed the petition and concludes that the proposed abandonment areas are not necessary for present or future public use. Therefore, staff supports the subject abandonment petition. Again, with regard to requirement number two of the code, necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of residents in the right-of-way area to be abandoned. Again, we think we meet this as well. The proposal, the redevelopment proposal here is going to improve pedestrian safety, consistent with the increased pedestrian foot traffic and bicycle traffic that's expected. And a couple of things that are going to happen here. Parties are going to, implement Vision Zero strategies, provide crosswalk maintenance, formalize on-street parking where feasible, create a walkable street, generally speaking, with enhanced pedestrian traffic safety. So we think we meet the standard for abandonment. Aside from the comment from Mr. Birnbaum, there's no further outstanding comments. The relevant agencies support the petition. Route 124 won't be widened. It will improve safety. And the relevant agencies concur that there is no, the right-of-way areas are not necessary for present public use or for future anticipated public use. So we would submit that we meet the qualifications, and we would ask that the petition be approved. Now, I understand that pursuant to Mr. Birnbaum's comments, you would like some further information. You suggested a letter along with the research that's already been done on the area. We're happy to submit that, and we will get it into you as quickly as we can. And I guess I would make the point again that while there may be ambiguity about title, there's no ambiguity that area is needed for right-of-way. And to the extent that the county has an interest in it, we would ask, and I think this is doable, that the county agree to abandon that interest. And that would be enormously useful, I think, for us moving this forward. The last thing that I will mention is a comment that I would like to make about timing of any decision in this matter. And again, we understand the record will be open for 2 weeks, but we would request that, to the extent it's possible, that we get a decision, I guess, as quickly as possible. There is, as you all know, a shortage of affordable housing in the county. This has been recognized by the executive, the county council, senior leadership, by HOC, and by the church. everybody would like to address this quickly. And for the church in particular, it's important to address it locally in this area. So there are deadlines that we face that could imperil our ability to move forward. And, one of them I'll just point out is the development impact tax credit. There was some demolition on the HOC sites that occurred in January of 2002. I believe we have about 4 years in order to take advantage of the tax credit to apply for building permits, and we're on a tight time frame at this point. So to the extent it's possible, we will get you whatever supplements we can put together, we'll get them to you as quick as you can. And if there's anything else you need, please let us know. We'll get it to you as quickly as we can. And to the extent that we can keep the ball moving on this forward quickly, we would deeply appreciate that. So with that, I will say thank you and cede the floor to whoever else might have comments.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Woodward. As a supplement to our request for that easement package that we discussed earlier, would appreciate it if you would submit that to the record, a copy of the easement package to WSSC. So at least get them a copy of that as well.
Okay. Well, you mean, so would you like the easement package we submitted an easement package to WSSC. Are you asking for that to be made part of the record?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
And with that, I'm going to allow anybody or anyone on the call who's registered to speak on this abandonment case to do so right now. So, Ms. McCray, do you have that individual queued up?
Yes, sir. We have one person that has elected to speak, others noting maybe, so we'll allow that individual to go first.
Excuse me, Mr. Paylor. I believe that Pastor Warner would like to speak on behalf of the applicant.
Oh, certainly.
So, yes, ma'am. I have a list of those individuals that have indicated, and it's all a part of the applicant team. But the applicant sponsor, I have it queued up, so not to worry.
I didn't realize that was an applicant list. I thought that was people from the community. Okay.
Thank you.
So the first representative I have is Jay Shepard. Mr. Shepard.
Thank you, Ms. McCray, and good afternoon, Mr. Paylor and everybody. My name is Jay Shepard, and I'm a housing acquisition manager with HOC, and I'll be super brief. I thought Gordon did a good job laying this out for you all, but we're really excited about this. One point I'll just make, and that it just caught my ear, and maybe I misheard it, but Emery Grove, the development that we have on the south side of that street was actually demolished in January of 2022, not 2002. I probably misheard that incorrectly, but it's these WSSC system development charge credits that get associated with the fixtures that were at that development that we would like to replace in the new development coming forward. So those have timeframes associated with them, and we're very sensitive to that because they're valuable and we don't want to lose them. But real quick, we're super excited about this. We're excited about our partnership with the church as evidenced by the team here. We also really appreciate the fact that planning and DOT and fire and WSSC all took the time to weigh in on this, and I think that was helpful. It helped refine the application and bring us really to a really good application. So with that, I thank you for your time and consideration, and we hope that the steps subsequent to this and getting to the county council and all that happens quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Up next we have Pastor Warner.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I'll try and also be super brief. I think the history was mentioned. Maybe just to put a finer point on it, these are former slaves who built not a wealthy but thriving and very functional community on this land, and hence the history of it has to do with the camp meeting that lasted for almost a century on the ground in Johnson Park nearby, community that was established around it, and of course the church. But there are also very many sort of community cultural sites that were alluded to. The point though that I wanted to drive at is that the history of this community is what was destroyed, not the history, the sense of community, the ethic of community was destroyed with urban renewal in the 60s. And so this entire project is unique in that our church is helping to, in partnership with HOC, to drive a change that has to do with equity now in this community. Several generations now have been locked out of home ownership. And on our side of the street and throughout this entire development, we are providing a full range of affordable housing for community, and the energy around this effort for both the community and for the church, and I think in the county in general, is really very, very, very high. We have formed a nonprofit, Heritage Emery Grove Community Development Corporation, that has been doing a lot of the community engagement and outreach for this. And we're talking to county agencies and various community members. The structure of the board requires that the community come together to make these decisions together. So the energy level and the visibility of it is very high in both the community and throughout all government agencies that we've been talking to now for years about this development. One of the things that was said about this community is that we wanted to recapture the ethic of the old community and what we were building. And part of that is walkability. And so these abandonments will be essential for that, because we want to have a sense of community that really has been lost since urban renewal. And the physical aspects of that have to do with sidewalks and closeness and proximity to the road. So those are very, very important parts of this. The work that we've done so far has been exemplary enough that the county council has just introduced legislation, zoning text amendment, that sort of codifies and simplifies the ability of faith communities to use their land for the development of affordable housing. So the importance of this cannot be underestimated. I hope that we'll be able to work through what seem to me to be fairly minor issues that have come up. And our church certainly and community certainly would urge you to do so. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Warren.
Up next, we have several members that were a part of the applicant team that noted they wanted to speak. I'll just go through the list and you can let me know if you'd like to make a statement or if you'll relinquish the time back. David Aguilar.
It's Dave Ager.
Ager, apologies. No? Okay. Hearing nothing. Alexis Vallegren. I don't think we have Alexis on the call, so I'll move on. Alicia Romero. Seeing Alicia on the call either. Francois, would you like to make any additional statements here, or are we fine to move on?
Nothing additional needed from me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And Ed Donahue. I'm not sure if we have Ed on the call.
I'm here, but no, nothing to add. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Paylor, that's all that I have on my list. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. McCray. So that if there are no additional comments on this to be placed in the record, I should declare this hearing closed at this point. Please be reminded that the record will remain open until February the 9th, 2024 at 5 p.m. And this time frame will be held open to accommodate additional comments for the record, and those comments and any other correspondence may be addressed to Ms. Tiara McCray at the Montgomery County Department of Transportation. As I've cited before, the address is 100 Edison Park Drive. That's the 4th floor, Gaithersburg, Maryland, 20878. Or they may be emailed to tiara.mccray@montgomerycountymd.gov by February 9, 2024 at 5 p.m. That said, the hearing is closed.
May I ask one more question before you close this out? I'm looking over my notes. I'm sorry.
No,
I wasn't clear. I understood that a copy of the report will be prepared, and after it's transmitted to the executive, we're entitled to see a copy of it. Is that right?
No, when the executive transmits to council, you'll be able to get a copy of it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Birnbaum.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Woodward. Okay. No further questions. The hearing's closed. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you all.
Everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I see you all, and I'll email you the audio.
All right. Thank you so much, Shannon. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you know.
I realized after I told you, Michael, go ahead and get started, that I didn't press record, but thankfully Shannon, I made her a co-host.
Oh,
So she was able to record for us.
Wow. I heard it